Marvelous Miss Mendoza, my sidekick. So how you doing this morning?
Good morning. Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. I see you back in the office, so things are starting to get back to normal a little bit.
Yeah, it's been nice. The traffic has still been pretty good though, so that's nice. I'm sure school being out, but school's been out. Yeah.
Microphone.
Oh, that would help, wouldn't it? I got all discombobulated.
I'm telling you, that's what it is. You get back in the office and things are like, oh, I'm telling you.
I'm just talking away and don't have the mic.
So is it good being back in the office? You feeling like you're getting a little bit back to normal?
Yeah, I really do. We're still not coming in every day, and a lot of times we won't be here for a full day. We're still trying to monitor how many people are in the office or in the space at one time so we can respect social distancing, physical distancing rules. Yes.
Well, the rules and kind of getting back to things, that's what I want to dive into today. So today Miss Whitney and I are going to be talking about getting comfortable being uncomfortable. And, I am not a huge proponent of comfort zones. I like to get out of the comfort zone, but sometimes that's just tough. And so I think with 2020, I don't know about you, Whitney, 2020 has been one hell of a year. Can we say that? Am I allowed to say
we
that?
Can. Yes, that's the word that's warranted right now.
It's been a year. And so, it's forced us in so many ways to be uncomfortable. And while I'm a big fan of getting out of your comfort zone and trying to push yourself, I'm not really a big fan of all the craziness this year's brought that's forced us into doing that. But it's kind of, that's what I want to get into is how can we get comfortable in the uncomfortableness?
Yeah.
So, for me, I think this all, obviously the coronavirus and us being quarantined and having to homeschool, none of that was comfortable for anybody. Even my friends who are homeschool moms are like, yeah, this is way different. And they kind of joke, they're like, you guys aren't homeschooling. So I had this discussion with a friend of mine the other day who does homeschool. And, a very good discussion. And she's like, what you're doing is not homeschooling. You're not coming up with the curriculums. You're not doing all this. You're just facilitating. So I think what's been interesting is with all these discomforts, we've kind of as a society gotten to be where it's like, I'm right, you're right. And it's kind of starting to tick me off a little bit. Like it's almost like people are so uncomfortable that they're not comfortable being there. They just feel like they need to argue with other people about things. Are you seeing that at all?
I am seeing that. And something I've tried to keep in my own mind is, uncomfortable, that's where we grow, right? But also there are a lot of people who have been uncomfortable for a while.
Yep.
And want to keep in my mind that, you know what? It's okay for me to be uncomfortable for a little while.
And that's what I think needs to come out of this. For me, it's, I always like, nobody likes being uncomfortable, but I like the growth part of that. I like the opportunity to grow from the discomfort. And that's what I would encourage you by listening to think about is, how can I learn? How can this, if something's making you uncomfortable, is because it's probably not familiar to you. It could be a little bit scary. You might not know how to navigate it. So instead of just going, this is awful, you guys are bad, this is bad, why not just stop for a minute and pause and say, okay, what am I supposed to be learning from this? What am I supposed to take away from this? Because at the heart of it all, with all the crazy things going on with the virus, with the murders, with the race relations, the riots, everything, I still choose to believe that most people are good people. Yep. And if they just kind of can pause and figure out, okay, why am I uncomfortable? what do I need to do with this? How can I move forward? How can I help and be the helper? If we just started to listen and look, how can I be the helper? I feel like that we would come out of this better. I mean, there's just so many things that it's okay to not know. It's okay to not know how to fix it. I think that's what the last week for me has been like, okay, in the conversations I've had with several of my closest friends, it's been like, I don't know what I'm supposed to do. I don't know how to help. And they're like, that's okay. Everybody's at a different spot. So part of the uncomfortableness is sitting in it for a minute and figuring out, okay, what am I supposed to take from this?
Right. Yeah. It's the willingness to try. The willingness to try, to learn, to listen. And I love the point you made is that it's okay not to know. And it's okay to listen for a moment until you know.
Well, and I think the one thing that I'll say, and I'm going to start fussing at some of you guys listening, because the one thing I personally feel it's not okay to do, quit being so freaking mean to people. It's like the comments, and you guys know I'm big on social and I do a lot on social and I try to engage with people. I will just stop responding in a split minute if somebody is being judgmental. And I've definitely seen that more in recent weeks. I think people are they're fed up and they're scared and they're nervous and they don't know what to do. So they lash out. And that's never the answer. That's never being mean to somebody online. I mean, I've had comments made to me online where people, will call me names and say stuff and be derogatory. And I'm like, I mean, they may be right. Who knows? But it's, they're people that don't even know me. So my theory for me, part of what helps me get out of my comfort zone and try to move forward is that I truly believe that there's good in most people. And if somebody is lashing out or making a comment, it's probably less about me than it is about them. It says way more about them that they're going to go off on somebody. And, it's just a matter of sitting with it for a minute and figuring out, okay, what am I supposed to learn and how can I be helpful?
Yeah.
And I feel like the helpfulness has gone by the wayside. And that's what I'd encourage people to get back to is because, I mean, we're as a whole, there's some rotten eggs out there for sure. But as a whole, most of us are pretty good people. And we just want to figure out how can we lend ourselves to help the situation.
Yeah. I think a lot of people are tired. Like I know I am not, Whitney personally, if you want to get a decision made when I am tired is not the best time to be making decisions or responding to something. And I think a lot of us are just tired for a lot of different reasons.
It's a new things, but part of the growth that occurs in the comfort zone, growth is not easy. It's not meant to be. If it was, everybody would be doing it. But part of it is just, like you said, sitting with it and figuring out, okay, what am I supposed to do? Is this the right time for me to move forward? What's the appropriate actions for me to take? And that's with a myriad of things. I think right now we've got so many external factors affecting us and things in the world and things in our country and city that it's so much coming at us. So just to sit for a minute. I mean, I love all the people that have been telling me to listen. A lot of my friends, that's the conversation we're having. They're like, you don't need to say anything. You don't need to do anything. Listen, just take it all in and figure out what, with me and my strengths and my voice and my platform, what can I do? And I think that's an individual thing for each person. So I'm just trying however people choose to step out of their comfort zone, my encouragement to people is let them do that. Let them choose that for themselves. Somebody may approach things a different way than others would.
Yeah. Well, it's like a lot of those, there's a meme that's going around that essentially sums up and says, don't be so quick to opt out of this year that's woken us up in so many different ways.
Yeah, it totally has. And you all heard all the kids saying woke, I'm woke and everything. And I'm like, that's first of all, I don't know if it's grammatically correct, but let's, that aside, the kids were saying this before any of this happened, but it's so true. I mean, we're going to look back on this and figure out, I don't care if people learned a new language, got a new skill, became a great chef. That doesn't matter to me. If that was what they wanted to do, awesome. If you just made it through your week, that's awesome too. I mean, it's different for everybody. And that's where I feel like we need to extend some grace is to understand that everybody's, we said this a couple of episodes ago, everybody's in the same storm, not everybody's on the same boat. So trying to figure out what their opportunity is to move forward. Yeah. And just, whatever that is, just be the helper. If you can't help, at least don't hurt. I mean, that's one of the things that keeps coming back to me. If you can't help, don't hurt.
Yeah.
Because some of the things I've seen, and you know, I'll bring this up, you know, if you and I get through this without crying, you know, our favorite author, Miss Hollis, announced yesterday that she and her husband announced that they're getting divorced. And, you know, I posted about it because it was traumatic. Like, I'm a fan of hers. I think she's phenomenal. I think David's phenomenal. And, you know, it took us aback because my post was like, what the heck else 2020? It's like, but what was interesting is I just, as a fan of hers, I was concerned. I was like, you know, I'm praying for you. I hope things work out. No, we don't know the insides. We don't know the reasons. But it was interesting on both my post and what they had put out as official statements to see people's comments and the hatred. And I'm like, are you kidding me? Like this, like her or not, you don't know her personally. You know, there was nobody posting, I don't think, that I got the feeling was one of her besties or somebody in her tribe.
Right.
So, you know, I just was sitting there like, if you can't say anything helpful, why be hurtful, especially to somebody you don't know? So that's where I feel like social media has given us a license just to be mean. And I need y'all to stop with the meanness. I need everybody to just realize that we've got to get comfortable being uncomfortable, but we've also can do that without trying to tear down other people.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know if you saw any of those comments too, but I was a little disheartened. I really was.
Yeah. There were, I did read comments on her post and comments on Dave's post. And yes, there were a lot of assumptions being made.
Yeah.
And there were a lot of decrees, if we could call it that, to never follow her again. Everything you've told me is a lie.
Yeah.
I'm not Rachel Hollis. I'm not Dave. I have no clue what was going on. I mean, I'm the child of divorced parents, so I can't speak as my parents, but I know it's hard. No matter what, I know it's hard. And I mean, respect to them. They're going to do it in the public eye. I mean, they're asking for privacy and understanding, but this will happen in the public eye.
Oh, for sure. And it's tough. And that's the part, you know, with, you know, I know we're talking about comfort zones, but that had to have taken a huge, I mean, they had to make a statement, obviously, because they are in the public eye. But that took a huge leap of faith. I mean, that had to have been the most uncomfortable thing, because I'm a child of divorce too. I'm also divorced myself. And there are so many things that people don't know that happened behind the scenes. And at least for me, I shared that with my circle, but I wasn't in the public eye when I got divorced. But it's like, even if I was, it's nobody's business. You guys, you don't need to know why they're divorcing. You really don't. If you don't want to follow her, don't follow her.
Right.
I think she's got great stuff. She's not going to have bad stuff all of a sudden because of this. She probably is both of them will have so much they've learned from this uncomfortableness. This is so out of their comfort zone that the lessons they learn in this, I can assure you, the things I learned going through a divorce and how you treat people and years after that divorce, I have so many learnings from that I know I use with my clients, with my friends. So there's going to be good things that come out of it down the road. But the opportunity is for everybody that's fans of hers, or even if you hate her, don't know who she is, allow them that privacy, allow them to figure it out, because they don't need to put all that. They don't need to tell you why they're divorcing. I mean, none of us know. We can speculate all we want. And there were some definitely some speculative comments on the post that I saw, but you know, I've been there. I have, it's never easy. It's never, and I certainly didn't share I didn't share everything going on behind closed doors, because it's nobody's business, for one. But two, the other thing I would encourage you guys, and this kind of goes into everything that's been going on in the world with the riots and the race relations and white privilege and everything, is we don't know what somebody else is feeling or going through. We don't know what's going on behind closed doors, and they don't owe that to share it with us. The thing is just to understand that people are feeling things right now. They're in their feels, and whatever that is, understand and appreciate it may be very different than what you're feeling.
Yeah, that speaks to Yvette's.
Give them grace.
Right. And Yvette commented on Facebook. She said, everyone has their own walk, and just accepting that our walks are different would go a long way.
Yep. And it's understanding. I mean, it would definitely go a long way, because I can only say what my experience was. I chose not to share a lot of mine. I mean, some people, my closest friends know I wasn't putting stuff about my divorce on Facebook, but quite honestly, I have children. I don't want to do that. And that's one of the things I would point out with them in particular. They have 4 children.
Yep.
You guys need to quit being mean, because those kids can read and they're going to see stuff about mom and dad. That's a crappy place to be. So if you're posting bad stuff and making judgment, unless your name is God, and as far as I know, I don't think God's posting a lot on social right now, but you don't really have the right to do that. But that's the same thing. If you're not in it, if you're not in the fight, just be nice. Extend some grace.
Well, and a lot of the comments were, this isn't true. You guys just need a counselor. You just need some time apart. And
I'm sure they didn't try that at all. I'm sure they just woke up one morning and said,
we're going to tell the world. That was my thought exactly. I'm like, if it has come to this, I'm sure that they talked about this and prepared and agonized over it before they came out and told the world. If this was a maybe thing, they wouldn't have said anything.
And talk about out of your comfort zone. I mean, that's got to be the bravery it took. And they both had separate say. It wasn't the same one. They both kind of worded it in their own words. But that's a big, whatever it is, I think we need to show them grace. But if we can extend grace to an author that most of us don't know, we can extend grace to other people who are feeling different things.
Right.
And I said, we're still trying to navigate all the stuff we're feeling and all the stuff we're going on in the world. And, there's some things that we're never going to experience ourselves. Some people are going to be fortunate enough to never have to go through a divorce, to never have to have their parents divorced. Some people are going to be fortunate enough to never know what it feels like to be profiled, or to never, worried when they get pulled over. And that's, it's been, I think the opportunity is, let this year, this 2020 crazy year, open our eyes to the things that we need to pay attention to. And, my pastor at my church, Andy Stanley, who's, honestly, best pastor award, but he's such a brilliant communicator. And he had a great sermon last weekend, but prior to that, one of the things he always says is, what breaks your heart? So I think part of getting out of your comfort zone and figuring out what's worth me stepping out there is asking yourself that question. What breaks my heart? If it's that people are cruel, to me, it's when people are mean for no reason. I just don't understand why people can't be loving and nice and show grace. If you don't have anything nice to say, zip it, move on. If I'm doing something wrong or offensive, I will take, if one of the cool thing is, if I do something bonehead, which I do, we all know this. Right. And sometimes I'll say things, right. And sometimes I'll say things, I'm like, not really what I meant to say, but that lack of filter thing just kind of played in. But my friends will step in and tell me, they will call me, and I'll take that to heart, because I think most people do when they truly are doing something that they're not intending, they'll take it to heart. But that we've got to get kinder to the general masses and the public as a whole, and realize that we're not all in the same fight.
Yeah. So I would love to hear your advice on this, Kristen, because this is a question that I've seen circulating on social too. Jose Online asked, what are some ways or steps to go through the uncomfortable? And he highlighted the difference between your business side, if you will, and your personal side, right? And what's interesting to me is, because we've seen a lot of companies come out and make statements, and they're not always aligned with the various people on their teams. So how do we navigate that?
Well, here's what's interesting. It's, obviously I'm a business strategist, so I work with a lot of businesses. I am very big on authenticity. You can make a statement all day long. And if your statement does not line up with your actions, I am not listening to that statement, which is part of why I keep saying quit commenting. Like if you don't have anything to say, your actions are speaking so much louder. Because I've seen statements come out with companies I've consulted with before. And, you can put out a statement all day long that says, we honor and respect diversity and inclusion. And my first thought was like, I've worked there. No, you don't, and my second thought is, show me your board of directors. Show me your board of directors and show me your senior leadership team. And if that doesn't reflect the statement that you just made, you've got work to do. And I think that's the same thing is with us personally. So that's, the business life. The personal life is you shouldn't be making, no one of us should be making statements that they're not willing to stand up for. Some people I feel like just say things to shock people. It's the shock value thing. And, and a lot of those are very prominent people. And if they're saying things to shock people, that's okay. Just be able to back it up. Be willing to fight for what it is. Quit. A lot of times, and we see it on social a lot, and we see it in person too. A lot of times people just want to stir the pot. Quit freaking stirring the pot unless you're going to do something to be part of the solution.
Right.
So for those of you guys who are out there just posting and not doing anything to be part of the solution, as long as your posts are kind, that's okay. But if you're just bashing people, I don't know how to be part of the solution. I'm having, because I've been more in the listening mode with a lot of this, especially, the show isn't really on the riots and the white privilege and the race relations, but I've been thinking a lot of that lately because I don't know what to do. But I'm having private conversations with my friends that know me well and know my heart to try to figure out, all right, what do I do? And I'm learning and I'm listening. But the main thing is just be kind. So on your personal life or your professional, the way you navigate getting out of the comfort zone is first and foremost, ask yourself, what is tugging at me right now? Because I feel like we don't listen to that tug enough. Yeah. And if something feels wrong, then do something about it. Don't complain about it, then do about it. Because it's the same thing with kids. Like with my kids, you can complain all day long, but unless you're going to change your course of action, the situation's not going to get any different.
Right. I feel the same with apologies.
Yeah.
There have been some entities that have come out and apologized or admitted that they were wrong. And I want to believe them. But to your point, something's got to back up, right? You can't just say, I'm sorry, and then continue on with the continuing on.
You can't, because action speaks so much louder than words, whether it's apology, whether it's a statement, I don't like canned statements. I really don't, from companies. I know they have to make them. They have to make a address. But here's the thing. I've written positioning statements. I've written marketing statements. I've written sales language for companies. And what I originally said after it passed through their legal department and 5 attorneys, it's so watered down and it's so unemotional. It's so unauthentic.
Yeah.
It's like, you take it or leave it. Like, I personally don't pay any attention to it. I want to see the action. But it's the same thing with the kid that keeps messing up and saying, I'm sorry, mommy, I'm sorry, mommy, I'm sorry, mom. It's the same thing with the spouse who let's say had an affair. I won't do it again. I won't do it again. I won't do it again. At some point, the words become pointless if you're not going to do something to change your own behavior. You're not going to be able to change other people's behavior. I think that's the best thing you can do to help other people is to be an example, and you do what works for you, and you step out of your comfort zone enough to have conversations and to take actions and to do things that will help move the cause, whatever the cause is, forward.
Right. Yeah. And it's often that, back to the stepping out of the comfort zone, the feeling of uncomfortable is a lot of times the feeling that's guiding you toward the right direction. So, I mean, the right thing, the growth doesn't always feel good. Doesn't mean you're making a wrong choice, but to grow, oftentimes we have to feel uncomfortable to grow.
Most of the growth occurs. I mean, they've said that for years. Most of the growth occurs outside your comfort zone. I'm not saying you've got to do something dangerous or anything like that. What I'm saying is each and every one of us has something that's tugging at us that we know we need to do, that we know we need to act on, speak up on, whatever. And those things can all be done with kindness. I mean, what's interesting is people kind of laugh at my friend group and my tribe, I guess. It's very different. Like we are politically diverse. We are ethnically diverse. We're like a little melting pot. I mean, it's really funny. And not all of my friends agree, but what's been interesting is I can have great dialogues with them because the empathy and the care is there, and they know that I'm coming at it from a right place. So I have people in my pretty close circle who are fiercely like Trump train #1 passenger, and I have people who are fiercely like, this man just needs to go away. I mean, I've got, so from a political standpoint, opposite ends of the spectrum. I've got people who were raised here versus raised there, have this privilege versus don't. And it's just, the more, if people could just get where they are trying to listen and understand and learn, like, okay, what does this person bring to the table? What are their unique viewpoints? Why do they feel the way they do? Then you can have conversations and dialogue without judging. And that's what I feel like part of getting out of your comfort zone is getting comfortable with the uncomfortable, figuring out how can I make this craziness of 2020 and beyond comfortable. And you do that by starting to embrace things and starting to have conversations and to listen and to figure out, all right, how can I be part of a positive solution to this?
Yeah.
Like I said earlier, most people, not all, most people are good people. They really are. They just need to be heard.
Yeah, I love what Sel said on Facebook. She said, be a verb.
Be what?
Be a verb.
Be a verb. Yes.
So to me, and correct me, Sels, if I'm wrong, but to me, that's an action.
Yeah, it's take action.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, because so many of us can just say, like, it goes back to your point about the statements. It's the same thing. In business, we hear this all the time. Everybody's trying to be flashy and say the right thing and word things just perfectly. I'd much rather do business with somebody who is a straight shooter. I know where they stand and I trust them. Like, I don't have to agree with you, but I do need to trust you. I do need to feel like we are in this together. We're working for a common cause. So whatever that is, but yeah, it's totally a verb, because the more you just say things, it's not going to help.
Yeah.
I like that.
So what are some other ways, Kristen, if we're feeling that uncomfortableness, that we maybe know which route to take? Maybe there's two paths in front of us. How do we choose to go left or right?
Well, the first thing I'd say, even before that, is if we're feeling that uncomfortableness, we need to take a path. We need to move, because what happens is so many people, we get to the edge of the comfort zone and then we retreat back. We start feeling like I'm growing. Oh, I don't know if I want to do this. So we kind of move back.
Yeah.
So the first thing I always say is take a step. I personally, when I'm coaching people, whether I'm coaching them on, how to grow their business and scale that, whether I'm coaching them on really just how to design more and, have more intentionality in their lives, my first thing is always take a step. I personally, when I'm working with a client, I don't care what step you take first. I just need you to take one, because frequently that first step is going to be the wrong one. And we do not know that until after we've taken the step. So what I encourage people to do is, you've got to get the momentum. Just step. Now have some guidance around it. Don't just willy-nilly step into the future. But if you know what you're moving towards, if you know what it is your goal is professionally, what breaks your heart personally, if you know what direction you want to move, then it's easier to kind of take a step. Yeah. And then we course correct as we go. I've never had a single business or company I've worked with that every plan we laid out went exactly as planned. That's why we have plan B, C, D, and E. It's because plan A rarely works out. But the main thing is getting out of your comfort zone is listen to your gut. And when you need to take a step out, to whether to stand up for something or to reach for something, do it. Take a step.
Yeah. I love that. I love that you said that a lot of time, if you don't know, but you take a step, that's going to help. That'll lead you to another feeling that's going to help you make another decision, right? Yeah. If you take that first step and you're still feeling, that was kind of uncomfortable, it's time to reassess.
I've messed up more times, especially in business, personally too, though. I've messed up more times than I've won. Yeah. But that's why I win when I do, is because I'm willing to get up and try it again. It's that old adage, doesn't matter how many times you fall down, it matters how many times you get back up. You just got to get back up one more time, then you fall down. Yeah. So it's so many times with, the thing with the comfort zone is it's comfort. It is like our little pizza pasta dinner with some ice cream afterward. It's just comfortable, and we love it there because it's warm and fuzzy. But warm and fuzzy isn't always good. That's what you eat too much pizza, you're gonna be in trouble. So we've got to venture out to something that might be a little scary. And I think a lot of times it is scary. Yeah. And that's okay.
Yeah.
Scary can be good.
So this uncomfortableness, how does this relate? Because a lot of times, Kristen, you talk about fear of the edges. Mm-hmm. So how does this how does this relate? The being uncomfortable and fear of the edges.
Miss Mendoza, I love the fear of the edges. All right, so the fear of the edges, for those of you guys who haven't heard us talk about this before, it's when we round ourselves out, when we're scared to kind of be all in or all us because we're worried what other people are going to think. Typically, sometimes it's just we're afraid to put ourselves out there, but we kind of soften things. We're quieter. We're not as I don't want to say forceful, but we're not as just, there's not as much passion behind things. So, the way this relates to fear of the edges is that's typically what causes us to stay in our comfort zone. So staying in your comfort zone is a byproduct. If you're scared to put yourself out there, if you're scared what others will think, if you are scared that you're like, I might be too loud, people might think I'm too opinionated, people might, disagree with me. That's the fear of the edges. The fear of the edges is when you're so worried what the reaction of others is going to be that you don't do the thing in your gut that you need to do. And that's just, that's where taking the step is huge. And I'm big on accountability with people, whether it's, somebody like me who's a coach helping you, or a friend, a buddy, a spouse, whoever it is. Have somebody to help you, because the first step is going to be the hardest. But once you kind of take that and go, but you've also, when you do that, you've got to let go of the outcome. Part of stepping forward and getting out of your comfort zone is the step is way more important than the outcome. The journey is way more important than the outcome, because you're never going to get the outcome if you don't start taking steps. So we'll course correct along the way, but you've got to get where you're like, I'm not worried if I seem too loud. I'm not worried if my edges are, a little sharper than they may have been with other things, because that's the way you move forward.
Yeah.
It's the way you grow.
Yeah. That's good.
Yeah. I love my fear of the edges.
I love it.
But it holds so many people back. It's, and part of it, and when I say edges, I don't necessarily mean loud, boisterous, obnoxious. It could just be being you. One of the things the conversations I'm having with a lot of my clients, I work a lot in the financial industry. So a lot of my clients are in finance, and God love you guys. I love you. You're my people. But to an extent, most financial advisors are boring, and they're saying the same thing everybody else is, and they blend into this sea of sameness, and it's so annoying for the public. And for me as their strategist is like, quit doing that. Step out, be you. So, part of the fear of getting over the fear of the edges is figuring out what's unique about you, what can help you stand out. So my favorite advisor clients that I work with and have the opportunity to work with, and the ones I know in the industry who are just awesome, they're the ones that said, you know what, here's how I'm different. Here's how I'm standing out. Here's how I'm taking a stand in my industry to be different and to not look like the other 50,000 advisors in the world that are out there. That's when it gets fun. When you're able to really embrace your uniqueness and embrace the fact that you are different from other people. And I think any industry can do that. And once you do that and kind of realize, all right, here's where my edge is. And like I said, edge doesn't have to be edgy. It can just be something different and unique about you.
Yeah. And what also comes to my mind when we say that is like standing on the edge, right? You're standing on the edge of taking a leap.
I'm like Edge of Glory, got Lady Gaga playing in my head here.
So it's not just trying to fit a circle in a square peg hole, whatever the analogy is, but it's also like taking the leap over the edge or to the next edge or Yeah.
And here's the thing is, I think the reason when people think about that, they look at the edge like it's a cliff and I'm fixing to fall off. Well, we build your parachute on the way down. They always say that, but the edge can also be you're on the edge of greatness. So I think what happens is so many times people think I'm on the edge of a cliff and I may die. And I need you to switch that to think I'm on the edge of something really freaking cool. I'm on the edge of being able to make a change, to make a difference, to grow my business, to, strengthen my relationship, whatever it is. I want people to start seeing the edge as the edge of something great as opposed to the edge of something scary.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then it becomes a little bit more, it's something you want then, which is what we want.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I do that as a business owner myself because I tend to be more calculated. Mm-hmm. I wouldn't consider myself a visionary, even though I have visionary tendencies of ideas. But I mean, I look at the cliff and I'm like, I'm fine with jumping over, but you best believe I'm going to do all the prep. I'm going to test the parachute.
Wind speed.
Yes. So okay. I'm going to jump and take the leap, but I will be prepared.
That's okay. And I think that's a cool point, because everybody has to understand that they're different.
Yeah.
And, one of the unique things I get to see with my private clients is none of them are the same. I have some that I literally have to pull the rope back to keep them from diving off the cliff too fast.
Right.
Because no prep. I call it herding cats. I have a few of those, and they're some of my favorite people because they're so enthusiastic.
Yeah.
I have some that literally I am pushing them off the edge of the cliff. Neither one's right or wrong. What's really interesting is, if we're talking about getting out of your comfort zone and going over the edge and in a good way, you've got to understand how you work. And everybody I work with is different, which is cool. And that's why, when we talk about, you've got a chance to read the book we have coming out, and we talk about all these different things because everyone's different. Some people
right.
have no problem with comfort zone, but they're a people pleaser. So there's little bits and pieces that make us who we are, which is another reason I just keep saying, be nice. If you can't be helpful, don't be hurtful, because not everybody is built like you or like me.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. So this is a kind of a good tie-in. Sel said, be the you and unique.
Oh, look at you. Is you on fire this morning, girl? I love it. I love her always tuning in. Thank you for tuning in all the time. But that's true. I mean, nobody wants the same thing. I have some of the content, as I've been working on for a course we have coming out in a few weeks, actually. One of the first modules that we get into, it's called Finding Your Uniqueifier. Because if you can't in business find your uniqueifier, find what's different about you than every other one of your competitors and everyone out there, you're never going to scale as quickly as you ever. I mean, you can do all the things good, but you're going to stay pretty stagnant. And it's not until we can get in with somebody and figure out, all right, tell me what makes you different. And it's not the products you sell. It's not any of that. It's not the company you work for. It's you. So what makes you uniquely different? But you're right. I mean, it's the you and unique. It's the you and beautiful. It's all that type of stuff. So it's figuring out what that is for you. And like I said at the beginning, we've all got good stuff. I mean, I think by nature, we're good people. I mean, God built us to be good people. Some of y'all going a little crazy recently and not being so, but that's what I want people to get back to, is how can we, use our gifts and help people and, do something that is good.
Yeah.
Because 2020 is coming after us. I mean, it's not playing. I will say 2020, I'm speaking to you right now. You need to leave Betty White alone. I need you to stay away.
That's true, please.
The remainder of this year, because there are certain things I can't handle. But it's true. It's coming after us, and we, but you started the call saying that there are so many things we can learn. This is the year. If this is the year that wakes us up, don't miss that opportunity. If that's what 2020 was meant for us as a world or as a country or as a family or company or whatever it is, if this is the year that you're supposed to be woke, don't miss it. Figure out how it is you can do that.
2020 vision.
2020 vision. I mean, there's some good things. I like it because there's some great things coming out that we really, we've got an opportunity to really act on. So,
yeah. Agreed.
So I like it. So Whitney, I think, what are your final thoughts? And I've got a little challenge to the group.
Yeah, no, I love what you kept saying, Kristen, which is, if you can't help, then don't hurt. If you can't help, don't hurt.
Yep. Yeah. I think that's the biggest, that out of everything we've talked about, I do want a couple things. I want you guys listening to don't be afraid to take the step out of the comfort zone, and don't feel like the step has to be perfect or exactly what your path is, because part of the beauty in this is some great things. Even though it's been a terrible year and a gut-wrenching year in so many ways, there's some great things coming out of it. I'm seeing people come together that I never thought would have come together. I'm seeing people support organizations that were underfunded that really need to be supported. I'm seeing people donate money and protest peacefully and doing all these things. So there's great things that can come from this. So look for the good. Yeah. And, it's kind of to what Whitney just said, look for the good, but also be the good. if you can't help, don't hurt. So make sure that you're staying positive. And at the same time, don't be afraid of that edge. Look at this as 2020 as an opportunity to step over the edge into something great, as opposed to worrying about it being a cliff that you're going to fall over.
I love it. That was a good
Miss
wrap
Whitney
up.
Mendoza. Good wrap up. All right. Well, thank you guys as always for being with us, and be good, be nice, be the helper, and keep pushing past those limits. So we will see you next week.